Start in the AFC, looking at the Broncos. Most surprising pick, best pick overall. There you see who they took, and DeMarcus Walker at D-end. They lose DeMarcus Ware, and Bucky, for you, you think he potentially fills a big need.
DeMarcus Walker is their best pick because in that 3-4 defense, they need guys that kind of have a versatile set of skills. He is a guy that is an outside edge rusher, but he's really at his best when they kick him down inside at Florida State. When I look at the Denver Broncos, when they go to their sub package and put 4 defensive players on the field on that front line, he can go inside. DeMarcus Walker, Derek Wolfe, you have Von Miller on the outside, and Shane Ray. That is a talented front four that can get up to the quarterback.
Yeah, they call it the no-fly zone there, but it certainly wasn't the no-run zone. When you look at the yards per game, 28th in the league, 130.3 yards allowed. They got to shore that up.
Yeah, they do. I remember the Raiders primetime game last year in Oakland. The Raiders just were able to run right through them, and that was the book on the Broncos. Just run at them. They had played a tough game down in Tennessee late in the year. They had a loss there as well, trying to stop the Titans' run game. And so I'm with you there. I mean, look, you can never have too many pass rushers. I'm a big believer in rotating guys in so they have fresh legs, because there's nothing more tiring than chasing the quarterback. But when you're as bad as they were against the run, yeah, that's a concern.
All right, that's the best pick, Bucky, overall. But who was the biggest surprise for you?
Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly from Ole Miss going in the 7th round as a quarterback. I'm a little surprised. They have 2 young quarterbacks in Trevion Simeon and Paxton Lynch. But Chad Kelly is a guy who is super talented, but he has some off-the-field issues.
Well, he's got the ego to match, too.
I mean, he has a lot of ego, but everybody that plays in the league has a little bit of an ego. I just worried about his ability to kind of keep everything in check. Can he be a model teammate while he's trying to learn behind Paxton Lynch and Trevion Simeon? Big question for me.
You know, I wouldn't freak out. I noticed that some people are freaked out. They're like, hey, they have Paxton Lynch, they have Trevor Siemian. Why waste a 7th-round pick? It's a 7th-round pick. It's darn near an undrafted free agent. At that point, aren't you just looking for the best player available or somebody that you think has much better value than that?
All right, what's your letter grade, Bucky?
I'm going to give them a B overall for what they were able to do on draft day. I think it's a solid draft haul. Not a lot of spectacular players, but guys that can come in and contribute.
All right, let's keep it in the AFC West. Take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs, not hosting the draft next year, but maybe down the road.
We don't talk about them enough, Mark.
Here are their picks. And how about that first-round pick? Taking Patrick Mahomes, certainly surprised a lot of people given the different style of quarterback he is versus Alex Smith as well. But he was not for you, though, Bucky, the best pick.
No, the best pick for me is Jehu Sesson from Michigan. This is a team that is always looking for playmakers on the outside. With Alex Smith at quarterback, they really rely on an intermediate short ball control passing game. This is a guy that is a pretty good route runner, great with his hands. He kind of fits in and kind of fits the mold of the rest of their wide receivers. Very productive. They're going to move the chains and they're going to find a way to be successful in a very efficient way. He's a nice route runner, nice addition to the wide receiver corps.
Yeah, you know, Mark, I could see where some people were thinking, well, they're already pretty filled out here at this position, but the way they use Tyreek Hill, they don't really use him as a classic wide receiver. They're running him on jet sweeps. They're using him out of the slot. So I didn't think it was a bad idea to get a little depth here. And we're not talking about a first-round pick or a second-round pick, so I actually liked this pick.
I think the surprising pick, though, for you, Bucky, goes back to who I mentioned before, and it's Pat Mahomes. And watching his elevation in the offseason, boy, people got high on him, and obviously Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City got high on him. You talk about a top 10 pick. I don't think anyone at the beginning of this pre-draft process saw him as a top 10 pick. But when you hear Andy Reid and John Dorsey talk about seeing some Brett Favre in him, having a plan that is very similar to what they did with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, it's a surprise, but you certainly can see it. What the Kansas City Chiefs are hoping is that they get an upgrade in talent over Alex Smith, but they teach him how to play a disciplined style that Alex Smith has used to win a lot of games in Kansas City. If they get that, they get the best of both worlds. So kudos to them for taking a chance on a gambling quarterback.
Yeah, he's just the bizarro Alex Smith in some ways. I mean, Alex Smith, great with mechanics. That's certainly not what people say about Patrick Mahomes, but you have to think you take a guy in the first round, Elliott, is the clock ticking for Alex Smith in Kansas City?
Well, I think it is, but you know, if I turn around and ask you, all right, who are the Super Bowl contenders in the AFC? Patriots, right? Steelers, Raiders, and who?
Chiefs can hang around.
You're right. So it's a little odd to me. I don't mind the pick if he falls to you. You know, they always say the best time to look for a quarterback is when you don't need one. Well, that old saying presupposes that a quarterback falls to you where you're sitting, not that you trade one of your high picks to go up and get him. So if this guy would have fallen to the Chiefs and they took him, I'd be like, no problem. But to trade up and get a guy, when you're a Super Bowl contender with the quarterback you have in-house right now, it was a little odd to me. I'm not saying it's a bad pick, But I do think Kansas City could legitimately play for the Super Bowl this year.
That does color their grade, though, Bucky. Not a great grade from you.
Yeah, I give him a C+, and it's kind of colored because,
Wow.
yeah, you do take a chance in taking a young quarterback. You bypass maybe a blue-chip player at the bottom of the round. I love the conviction and the belief that this guy is going to be your franchise quarterback going forward and that you have a plan in place. The quarterback position is the most valuable position in football. You have to have a guy to seriously contend every year. I understand going about it, but they bypass some people. So we'll see. It's a C+. Maybe in 3 years we revisit, it'd be an A because Patrick Mahomes is a star.
After that C+, forget what I said about having the draft at Arrowhead.
It's not going to happen.
Let's just wipe that. Yeah.
Hey, let's move just down the street from us. I still have a hard time calling them the Los Angeles Chargers. That's the name, though, and they don't have a quarterback issue, but they do have a new wide receiver in Mike Williams. And look at the rest of their board as well. Dan Feeney, Desmond King, rounding out some of their picks.
Draft.
Bucky, your favorite, though, on this chart?
I'm going to go Forrest Lamp, and I should include Dan Feeney because what the Chargers were able to do is they fortified the inside of their line. And when you have a quarterback in Phillip Rivers that is a stationary quarterback, the worst thing that you can do is allow pressure to come right up the gut. Now you get two offensive guards, Feeney and Lamp, guys that can solidify. Also, they can move people off the ball, so now they can run the ball with Melvin Gordon. I like the pick. It's not a sexy pick, but it's one that is a solid blue-chip pick that will help them be a team that I think will emerge as a Super Bowl contender.
Well, their record last year kind of belied the fact that this was a talented team beset by a ton of injuries, a lot of late-game losses, maybe a play here and there from a new wide receiver drafted in the first round could make a big difference.
Yeah, Mike Williams should make a huge difference. You now have the opportunity to pair him with Keenan Allen, and you're able to recreate the glory days for Phillip Rivers in terms of Vincent Jackson and Malcolm Floman. Those guys were on the outside. He was throwing it up all over the yard, and he can get back and maybe have one last run at the ring. And so when I look at this team and what they have on the outside, I'm loving the fact that their receiver core is big, they're physical, they expand the strike zone, they make a lot of plays in the red zone. A lot of touchdowns should happen in L.A.
Yeah, maybe a lot of competition for those balls next season in Los Angeles for the Chargers, but you're great overall for them.
You know, I'm going to give them an A-. I think this is a outstanding draft. They really upgraded the parts of the team that they needed to upgrade, and they were able to get another playmaker. You have to like that. This is all about Phillip Rivers. If they can keep him upright and healthy, you know he's good enough to take them far.
And let's not forget, Mark, they got Hunter Henry last year. Caught 8 touchdown passes. That guy's been completely forgotten about. Watching the draft coverage, people were still mentioning Antonio Gates. I'm like, did anyone see this kid play?
Hunter Henry certainly made a splash.
You bet.
The interesting thing about this division, by the way, is you can make a case for every single team in the division being a contender. Certainly the Raiders, that's the case as well. Hit a lot of areas of need for them as we stick in the AFC West. You see Garyon Conley, Obi Melifonwu at the top of their board as well. But Bucky, who was your favorite pick?
Obi Melifonwu was my favorite pick, and the reason he's my favorite pick because he's a versatile player. He's a guy that can play safety, he can go outside and play corner. Athletic freak. 6'4", 220, 4.4 speed. A guy that had over 100 tackles in each of his seasons at Connecticut. Productive. They need someone in the middle of the field. You now pair him with Carl Joseph. They're young, athletic, and sturdy in the middle of the field.
I'm going to give you some numbers here, Elliot. 26th in yards per game allowed defensively,
Yeah.
last in yards per play, 24th in passing yards per game. Yeah. Obviously, a huge area of need for this.
Yeah, a couple things happened last year. One, Sean Smith didn't get off to a fast start. That's putting it politely. And Bruce Irvin really didn't either. Didn't really give Khalil Mack the help. And then you saw a game late in the year against the Chargers where Bruce Irvin got it going and the Raiders defense got better. My only question.
I'm sorry, I just have to address the fact that you haven't addressed that spectacular topic bar we have there. Given Obi Melifonwu's name, can he use the Force on their secondary, Elliot? As a Star Wars fan, I expected you to.
Well, then we should have shown a hologram, Obi Melifonwu, talking to you during the segment. Is this guy kind of like a Byron Jones that the Cowboys took a couple years ago?
A little
play
bit.
outside,
He's a bigger version. I think he's more of a natural safety than Byron Jones. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's solid in all aspects. Byron Jones, to me, was more of a workout wonder, more of a freak athlete who kind of showed up and kind of rose up the charts.
All right, we talked about your best pick, Bucky. Who's your surprise pick?
My surprise pick is Garyon Conley, and not because of the talent, but just more so because of the character concerns that were hanging over his head prior to the draft. When you have a guy
you got to feel real confident to go as high as they
under
did.
investigation for the things that he's been alleged to do, you just wonder, is he ever going to be on the field? To expend the first-round pick means that you're confident that he's going to be exonerated. We just have to see. On the field, it's a great pick because he upgrades their biggest hole in the secondary. They need a lockdown corner, someone that can plug and play and do outstanding things against number one receivers. He should be able to do that. In fact, I thought he was a safer bet than his teammate, Marshawn Lattimore at Ohio State. So this could be a home run pick. We just have to see.
Invited to be in Philly, which obviously says that his talent was expected to go high, and maybe they got value there.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it. If I were to nitpick this draft, it wouldn't be so much that pick, although I get Bucky's concern. I mean, everybody has that concern for sure. But inside backer, that's something that Reggie McKenzie said that they needed to address. They weren't able to get that done early in the draft, and that hurt them a little bit last year. Be interesting to see how that plays out. Can't do them all.
Might have liked to have seen them pick up a tight end. They didn't, but overall, Bucky, you're great.
You know, overall, I give them a B. I think it's a solid haul. It all depended upon really what Conley is able to do. If he's able to get on the field and play, I think that grade goes up. But it was solid.